I caught my neighbor smelling my laundry. Now I don't feel safe in my own building. I never really paid much attention to my neighbor across the hall. Rick. That was his name. Mid-40s, always wearing some faded flannel shirt, slippers no matter the season, and this weird habit of standing silently in the hallway when someone was walking by. Like a background NPC that you just knew would glitch at some point. I moved into the building about a year ago, a modest 4-story complex in Portland, Oregon. Rent was reasonable. Neighbors mostly kept to themselves. The only thing I mildly hated was the shared laundry room in the basement. 4 washers, 4 dryers, 1 flickering light that buzzed like a dying bee. No camera, no ventilation. It always smelled like a mix of old socks and lavender detergent. Last Sunday, I loaded up my laundry like always. Nothing unusual. Shirts, jeans, boxers, socks, and a few gym clothes. I tossed them into the washer, set a timer on my phone for 45 minutes, and went back upstairs. Rick was in the hallway again, sipping some off-brand soda, staring at the wall. I nodded. He didn't say anything, just blinked. Weird, but whatever. 45 minutes later, I came back down, moved everything into the dryer. Normal, but I came back 10 minutes early the second time. Not on purpose, I just got bored scrolling my phone and figured I'd fold everything before it wrinkled. As I walked into the laundry room, I stopped dead in the doorway. Rick was there, and not just standing. He had opened the dryer, pulled out a pair of my boxers, and was smelling them. Not subtly, not out of confusion, like full-on inhaling them. I froze. My heart dropped into my stomach. My brain couldn't process what I was seeing fast enough. For a second, I thought maybe I was misunderstanding something, but then he did it again, and smiled. He hadn't heard me come in? Rick? He jumped, startled, and dropped the boxers like they burned his hands. His face flushed bright red, and for a second I saw panic, real, naked panic flicker in his eyes. Two was just checking if the dryer stopped. Sometimes the sensor's off, you know? No, I didn't say anything. He tried to laugh it off. I walked past him, picked up the boxers from the floor, and stared at him. You touched my laundry. I didn't mean anything, I swear. I couldn't tell if I wanted to punch him or throw up. I think you should go, I said quietly. He nodded, mumbled something, and shuffled out. Back in my apartment, I dumped the whole load back into a trash bag. I didn't care if it was dry. I didn't care if it was clean. I couldn't wear that stuff now. I took a shower that lasted way too long. My skin felt like it was crawling. Later that night, I sat on the couch in silence. I kept replaying the scene in my head. Why would someone do that? Was he sick? Was this the first time? Was he doing this to other people? My building didn't have security. No cameras in the laundry room. And Rick had lived there for years. I didn't know if I should report it. To who? The landlord? The cops? I texted my friend Jordan, who works in tenant law. Me. Hey, random Q. If a neighbor is caught doing something creepy in a shared laundry room, like really creepy, what are my options? Jordan, define creepy. Me, caught him smelling my underwear from the dryer. Jordan, dude, WTF. Do you feel safe? Me, not really. Jordan, you can file a report. Not illegal to touch shared machines, but if you feel violated, you have a harassment case. At minimum, tell your landlord. Put it in writing. I sat with that for a while. The next day, I sent an email to my landlord, Michelle. Polite but firm. I detailed the incident, included the time and place, described what I saw, and ended with, I'm not asking for anything extreme, but I want this on record. I don't feel comfortable sharing space with someone who violates boundaries like that. Please advise on next steps. She replied 6 hours later. That's disturbing. I'm so sorry. Rick's lived here a long time and we've never had complaints, but I'll speak to him. Let me know if anything else happens. That didn't feel like enough. That night I didn't sleep well. Every creak in the hallway felt like him. I kept picturing his hands on my clothes, his face buried in fabric that touched my skin. I hated how personal it felt. Violated. Exposed. The next day I saw Rick in the stairwell. He avoided my eyes. Hey, he muttered. Sorry about you know. The other day, I didn't respond. He looked down at his soda. It won't happen again. I stared at him. It better not. And just like that, I realized this wasn't over. After that awkward stairwell encounter with Rick, I tried to convince myself it was over. That it was just some one-time, messed up thing, disgusting. Yeah, but something I could file away in my mental unpleasant but over drawer and move on. I was wrong. Things didn't go back to normal. If anything, they got worse. Not in a dramatic, horror movie way, no screaming at midnight or blood on my doorknob. Just subtle things. The kind that slowly pull threads from your sanity until you don't know if you're paranoid or perceptive. It started with the hallway light outside my door. It flickered constantly now. Not like a dying bulb, more like someone was messing with the switch. I replaced the bulb myself. Still flickered. Then, one morning, I noticed the doormat was missing. It's just a dumb thing from Target, with wipe your paws and little dog prints on it. Gone. Not stolen, just gone. I knocked on my neighbor Melissa's door across the hall. You didn't take it as a joke or something, right? I asked. She frowned. What? No. Why would I touch your mat? Fair point. A few nights later, I was watching TV around 11:00 p.m. when I thought I heard footsteps outside my door. Not the usual elevator dings or apartment doors closing. These were slow, creaking, almost like someone was standing there. I muted the TV, listened. Silence. Then I stood up, walked to the peephole. No one. I opened the door. Nothing except the hallway smelled faintly of my detergent. That exact vanilla lavender mix I'd started using after I stopped going to laundromats. At first I thought I was imagining it. But the next morning, the laundry room door was open, and my new detergent bottle, which I kept tucked in the corner behind the dryers, was missing. That was it. I called Michelle again. Hey, this is Eli from 3B. Sorry to bug again, but I think the Rick situation might be escalating. Oh, how so? Small things. My detergent's gone. Hallway stuff moved. He's creeping outside my door late at night. You're sure it's him? No. But it's not the tooth fairy. Look, I get that this is stressful, but we can't act based on suspicion. If you feel unsafe, maybe file a police report. I hung up, furious. Not at her, well, maybe a little, but at how helpless the whole thing felt. Rick hadn't broken a law yet, but it didn't feel like it was going to stop here. So I did what any anxious millennial would do. I bought a cheap motion camera online and installed it in my door peephole. It arrived 2 days later. I disguised it as a peephole cover. It auto-recorded whenever there was motion in front of the door and uploaded footage to my cloud. That first night, nothing. Second night, a couple neighbors walking by. Third night, Rick Dottle. Around 1:12 a.m., he walked up to my door. He didn't knock, didn't try to open it. He just stood there for a full minute, head slightly tilted, listening, then leaned forward like he was sniffing. I watched the footage 10 times. I emailed it to Michelle with a short message. Tell me again that this isn't a problem. She called me an hour later. Okay, she said, that's bad. You think? I'll deliver a formal written warning. He can't loiter outside your door like that. That's it? We're not legally allowed to evict someone without proper cause. But if he violates another tenant's space again, we'll have something actionable. I didn't like it, but it was something. That weekend, I went to visit my sister in Eugene. I needed out of that building, even if just for a night. When I got back Sunday afternoon, my apartment felt off. Nothing was stolen. Door was locked. But the air felt different, and my laundry bag, which I always left folded in the same spot, was moved. Just slightly. Too slightly. I checked the camera footage. Sometime Saturday night, the camera cut out for 25 minutes, right when Rick would have known I was gone. I didn't have proof he went inside, but my gut screamed it. I called Jordan again. Can I change the locks? If it's a rental, you need permission, unless you file a police report and claim a threat. So basically wait until he does something worse. Or move. I didn't want to move. I liked the apartment. I liked the location, the light in the kitchen, the park nearby. But now I kept waking up at night to the creaks in the hallway, listening for slow footsteps and the soft buzz of fluorescent bulbs. Rick still lived across the hall. Still acted like nothing happened. He even waved once. Waved. By the end of the week, I wasn't sleeping. I was snapping at coworkers, missing meetings, barely eating. This wasn't just about underwear anymore. This was psychological warfare. And I wasn't sure who'd snap first, me or him. I finally decided to talk to a cop. Not 911, I wasn't in immediate danger, but I drove to the local precinct on a rainy Thursday morning, walked into the lobby with a USB stick in my hand, and asked to speak to someone about non-violent but escalating harassment from a neighbor. After 20 minutes and 2 cups of bad coffee from a vending machine, I got 5 minutes with Officer Patel. She was calm, kind, professional. Listened closely as I described everything. The dryer, the hallway, the detergent, the video. She watched the clip on my laptop, "That's definitely not normal," she said. "But technically, he's not breaking in. Standing outside your door isn't illegal, though it's creepy as hell." I gave a bitter laugh. "So I wait until he climbs into my bed?" She leaned in. "No, but keep collecting documentation. File a formal incident report, we'll have it on record. And honestly, consider filing for a restraining order if he escalates." I filled out the paperwork. It wasn't much, but it was something on paper now. I told her what my landlord said. She winced. "They always wait until someone gets hurt. That's when liability kicks in." That night, I came home to find a small paper note slid under my door. Just one line, written in weirdly neat cursive. "I'm sorry you feel unsafe." No signature, no context. But I knew exactly who wrote it. My body locked up. I stood in the hallway with the note in my hand for a full minute before I opened the door and went inside. I didn't sleep. The next morning I took a sick day from work and bought 4 new deadbolts. Called a locksmith. Paid him in cash. Didn't tell the landlord. I also bought a new lock for the laundry room cabinet, where I kept my detergent. I didn't care if it was petty. I ordered groceries online for the week. I didn't want to leave my apartment unless I absolutely had to. My mom called that night. I tried to sound normal. "Still liking the apartment?" "Yep. You sound tired. Just work. You sure everything's okay?" "Yeah, I'm good." I hated lying. What was I supposed to say? "Hey, Mom. My neighbor's sniffing my underwear and standing outside my door at night like a horror movie extra." She'd be on a bus to Portland in a heartbeat. Then things stopped. For 3 days straight, nothing happened. No hallway sounds, no missing items, no new notes. The camera footage was boring. For a second, I let myself believe it was over. Then, on Sunday night, something happened that shifted the entire story. I got home from a walk around 8:30 p.m. Cold wind, dead leaves, early October gloom. As I came up the stairwell to the 3rd floor, I saw my neighbor Melissa standing by her door, pale, shaking, phone in her hand. She looked at me like she'd seen a ghost. "He was in my apartment," she whispered. I blinked. "What?" "Rick. I came home from dinner with my boyfriend. The door wasn't fully closed. Lights were on. I swear I locked it. Do you think he ran out before we got up the stairs?" She was crying. Actually crying. I walked her inside. Nothing was missing. But something was wrong. Her jewelry box was open. A drawer was half pulled out. A scarf had been moved. She called the police, gave a full report. Rick's name came up. So did mine. By Tuesday, the building had a police presence. Not full surveillance, but at least an officer spoke to Rick. I didn't hear what he said. But Rick wasn't smiling anymore. He didn't even look at me. 2 days later, he was gone. The landlord didn't tell anyone anything official, but I saw him carrying boxes to a beat-up van, face like a punched clock. I never saw him again. You'd think I'd feel relief. Closure. I didn't, because 2 weeks later, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. No words. Just breathing. And I swear, in the background, I heard the low, rhythmic hum of a dryer spinning. I replayed the voicemail a dozen times, just to make sure I wasn't imagining it. Heavy breathing. No words. And underneath it, that unmistakable sound, the low mechanical rhythm of a dryer. I recognized it because I'd heard it 100 times before. Our laundry room had a specific kind of hum, almost melodic, like a tired machine trying to whistle. I checked the timestamp. 2:47 a.m. I hadn't been asleep long when it came in. I'd muted my phone that night because I'd been waking up too much phantom noises, paranoia. Maybe just leftover trauma? I didn't hear it until I checked my phone after brushing my teeth the next morning. There was no doubt in my mind. It was him. I called the number back, of course. It rang twice, then silence. No voicemail, no tone, no message. I Googled it. Burner app. Temporary number. I sat at my kitchen table, staring at my phone, and finally whispered aloud, "What do you want?" Like maybe he'd hear me. That day at work I was useless. Couldn't concentrate. I clicked the same tab 5 times. My boss asked if I was sick. I said, "No, just tired." By noon, I was at the hardware store buying a second camera. This time to place discreetly inside my apartment, pointed at the door from the inside. Not because I thought someone would break in again, but maybe because I did. I also bought a wedge alarm for the front door and a motion-activated chime for my hallway. I didn't want surprises anymore. I wanted proof. A few days passed. No calls, No notes. No breathing. My body started to relax again just a little. I convinced myself the voicemail was one last mind game. That Rick had finally gotten scared off. Moved on. Found a new victim, maybe. Until the laundry started again. It was Thursday evening around 6 p.m. I just finished dinner and remembered I needed to wash my hoodie, the one I always wore around the apartment. I headed downstairs. Laundry room empty. Lights buzzing. The same as always. I opened the door to the dryer and froze. Inside, nestled between the metal drum and the lint trap, was something small and white. A note. Folded perfectly. Edges clean. My name printed on the outside in block letters. Eli. I didn't touch it. I just stood there, heart hammering in my chest. I looked around. Empty room. I reached in and pulled the note out with 2 fingers. Inside, typed not handwritten, were 5 words. You should check your camera. That's all. No name. No threat. Just that. I bolted upstairs. I opened my cloud app, scrolled through the feed, and landed on the clip from earlier that afternoon around 4:25 p.m. I'd been at work. The video showed my apartment door. Nothing unusual. Then motion. A man tall, wearing a dark hoodie, baseball cap pulled low, walked past my door. Slowly, almost thoughtfully. He stopped, and then turned his head toward the peephole camera, straight at it, and smiled. It was Rick. I could see part of his face, just enough. The beard, the eyes, the weird expression that made my skin crawl. He stood there for exactly 20 seconds, then walked away. I checked the apartment camera. Nothing. No entry. No alarm. No sound. He hadn't come in, but he'd been here. I called the police. Again. Same routine. Officer showed up, watched the video, nodded grimly and said, "Yeah, that's enough for a restraining order. But not enough for arrest." He took a formal report, promised to forward it to a detective. But I could tell unless Rick broke in, they weren't going to act. That night, I didn't sleep. Every sound in the hallway made me jump. Every creak in the floorboards was a ghost in waiting. I checked the cameras every hour. Nothing. Until 3:07 a.m. Another voicemail. This time 7 seconds of silence. Then a whisper. "You didn't lock it right." That was it. I lost it. Threw on jeans, hoodie, shoes, stormed out into the night. I didn't know where I was going. Maybe to Rick's last known address. Maybe to smash his face in. Maybe just to breathe air that didn't smell like bleach and fear. I walked 5 blocks before realizing my hands were shaking. I called Jordan. It was 3:20 a.m. "Hello?" He answered, groggy. "He's still here. Illy?" He left another voicemail. "He's watching me. He knows when I leave." He left me a note in the thing dryer. "Jesus Christ, what do I do?" Silence. Then Jordan said, "You don't wait for the police. You move. Now. Today." This guy's not just creepy. He's obsessed. I didn't want to hear that, but I knew he was right. By sunrise, I was already halfway packed. Not out of panic, though that definitely played a role, but with a kind of focused fury. My hands worked faster than my brain. Tossing clothes, chargers, documents into boxes without sorting. Essentials first. Passport, birth certificate, laptop, meds, a few favorite shirts. I left most of the furniture. I didn't care anymore. Nothing in that apartment felt like mine. Around 9 a.m., I called into work. "Hey, I won't be in today. Family emergency." It wasn't a lie, just not the kind they expected. By 10:30, I'd found a short-term rental across town, nothing fancy. Just a sublet listed by a grad student going abroad for a few months. It was furnished, had secure entry, and best of all, no shared laundry. I booked it immediately and paid extra to move in that same day. I called a friend with a van, told him the basics, not the underwear sniffing or voicemails, just weird neighbor, stalking stuff, getting bad. He came over without asking questions. We moved everything in 2 hours. I didn't even see Rick. Maybe he was watching from somewhere, maybe not. The hallway never felt so long, or so dark. I left the cameras in place. Maybe part of me wanted him to come back so that this time, I'd have full proof. But another part of me was afraid of what I might see. My new apartment was smaller, dimmer. The floors creaked and the fridge made a faint hissing noise. But it was mine, and it was clean. No strange notes, no weird energy in the hallway. No one standing silently in socks pretending not to listen. For the first 2 nights, I still checked the door 5 times before bed. Slept with a kitchen knife next to the mattress. I kept waiting for the breathing voicemails to start again. They didn't. 1 week later, I got a final email from Michelle. The old landlord. Hi, Eli. Just wanted to confirm your unit has been cleaned out and keys returned. Rick has officially been banned from the property due to multiple tenant complaints. Wishing you peace in your new place. I reread that last sentence 10 times. Rick has been banned, but not arrested, not charged, just banned. Like a guy kicked out of a gym for not wiping down the equipment. I didn't reply. It's been 2 months now. I changed my phone number, got a PO box. My work knows not to give out my address. I don't use my full name on anything public. No more laundry rooms. I installed a chain lock on my new door, even though it already has 2 deadbolts. But still, sometimes, I think I hear a soft hum late at night. Like a dryer in another room, even though I know I'm alone. And every time the floor creaks in the hallway outside, I hold my breath, just in case. If you like this video, please subscribe for more.